Select the gear that uses the least amount of chain. The fastest at the back, the slowest at the front. Open the brake. Rotate the handle on the quick release skewer through 180 degrees from the closed position to the open position. Stand behind the bike with your head on its center line. Grab the left side of the bike with your left hand. Place your right thumb on the end of the quick release nut on the right side. Use your right fingers to pull the derailleur body back towards you so it rotates out from under the wheel. Unhook the chain with your right hand to lift the bike with your left. Find the valve, make sure the tube is fully deflated, and remove the lock ring, if any. Pinch the tyre to unstick it from the rim and let the bead fall into the well of the rim. Tyre levers have two hooks. Across one end is a hook to go under the tyre bead. Near the other end is a notch to hook onto a spoke. Metal levers last forever, but may damage fancy rims if used carelessly. Plastic levers tend to break. Keep your hands over them when levering so that if they do break, nothing will fly off and hit you in the eye. Position a lever next to a spoke. Push it down between the rim and the tyre to a position where it will hook the bead when rotated downwards. Push another lever in close by. Carefully push them both down together. Hook one onto a spoke. Rotate the other lever up. Keep forcing it down to stay under the tyre. Use a thumb to open a gap between the rim and the tyre and push the lever a few millimeters away from the fixed lever. Rotate the lever down to lift more bead over the rim. Repeat the previous step, moving the lever a few millimeters each time. Take care to keep the active lever under the bead. If it pops out, you may have to start again. Repeat the action with the unlocked lever until the bead can be unzipped by sliding the active lever around the rim. Leave one tyre bead on the rim and pull out the tube. Leave the valve in the rim. Once the tyre is off the rim on one side, you can pull the tube out. Reach into the tyre, somewhere away from the valve, and pinch and pull the tube out. Leave the valve in the rim. Blow the tube up with the valve still in the rim and listen for the hiss of escaping air. If you can't find the hole, take the tyre off the rim and carefully run the pads of your fingers round the inside, feeling for a sharp foreign object trapped in the tyre. When you have found the hole, match the tube to the wheel and tyre and check the tyre in the area where the hole was. Pick out whatever caused the puncture. Tweezers or a pin may be useful. If you used water to trace, use fine sandpaper or an emery board to clean the area around the hole. Clean an area larger than the patch you intend to apply. Smear a thin layer of rubber solution around the hole. The cement is a solution. Don't apply the patch until all the solvent has evaporated. If you sniff the layer of solvent, you must smell only the rubber of the tube, not the alcohol solvent. The length of time this takes depends on the weather conditions. It's quicker in warm, dry air, longer when it's cold and wet. If you're not certain where the hole is, pump a small amount of air into the tube to show where the air escapes. Peel the protective layer off the patch. If the patch has paper on one side and foil on the other, it's the foil that comes off. If it has paper and cellophane, it's the paper. Apply the patch to the layer of glue so the hole is centered under the patch. Place the tube on a firm, smooth surface and rub the patch onto the tube with a smooth implement. A tire lever works well. This action encourages the patch to bond to the tube. Fold the tube to crack the backing paper or cellophane and peel it off from the center outwards. If you want to leave the backing on, that's no problem. The tube will work with it still on. Dust the patch and surrounding area with fine dust or chalk. A patch kit often has a block of chalk to generate this dust, but you can use any fine dust lying around. The dust neutralizes the glue around the patch so that the tube won't stick to the inside of the tire. Roll the tubes carefully to force all the air out, then fold with the valve on the inside and secure with a rubber band. Pump a small amount of air into the tube so it holds a circular shape and is roughly the same size as the tyre. It's good practice to place any coloured label or script at the valve. This may make it easier to trace a small elusive puncture hole. If the tyre doesn't have a label, use the pressure information or some other identifiable marking. Feed the tube into the tyre with the valve adjacent to the label. Push the valve into the valve hole and fit one bead onto the rim. Start by pushing the valve into the hole in the rim, then get a section of the bead into the well of the rim, the bottom of the rim nearest the centre of the wheel, to generate enough slack to get the rest over the rim wall. The tyre is half on. Put the wheel on the floor with the valve at the bottom and the open side of the tyre away from your legs. Place your hands together on top of the tyre with your thumbs on the side away from your legs. Point your thumbs away from each other. Push the first section of bead over the rim. Lock one hand in position and work the other away, rolling the tyre over the rim wall. Once your hand is halfway down, lock it and work the other in the opposite direction until it's also halfway to the floor. Once you've reached the point where the tyre will stay in position on the rim, deflate the tube. Go back to the start position with the thumbs pointing away from each other. Squeeze the beads together and force them down into the well of the rim. As your hands reach the 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock position, you can lean on the tyre to hold the beads in place. Get your thumbs to the point where the bead is going over the wall of the rim. Work the bead over the rim with your thumbs as you keep the tyre in tension to concentrate the slack at the area around the valve. Press the valve up into the tyre to check the valve seat is inside the beads. Inflate the tube to about 25 pounds per square inch. Work round both sides of the tyre in turn, forcing the bead away from the rim to check the tube isn't visible. If you can see the tube, it's trapped under the bead. Find the valve and remove any dust cap. If the valve hasn't been open for a while, release a short hiss of air to check it's not stuck. The same process, holding the valve open for longer, deflates the tyre. The hose or pump connection may screw on or press on. Some push-fit connections lock with a cam lever. A push-fit connection to a Schrader valve usually needs a locking lever. A small amount of air is released when the connector goes on or off. Pull the connector off briskly, parallel to the valve, to minimize the air loss after pumping. Fully open and fully close the pump with each stroke. Place both feet on the rests to stabilize the pump. Open the pump fully at the start of each stroke. It helps if you can brace the connection between the valve and the pump by hooking a finger or two around the tyre or spokes. Plant your feet and try to position yourself so you can get your shoulder behind the piston of the pump. Put the chain onto the fastest sprocket and watch the axle into the slots on each side where it fits. The weight of the bike will help you get the wheel in exactly the right place. With your head on the bike's centre line, check the wheel is centred in the frame. Rotate the handle through 180 degrees from the open position to the closed position. Close the brakes and check they're working well.